I was standing in my own bathroom looking down at the floor, and I could not believe what I was seeing. The smell hit me first. Then my eyes confirmed what my nose already knew. My sister-in-law had left something on my bathroom floor that made my stomach turn inside out. 3 weeks ago, I opened my home to my brother and his family when they had nowhere else to go. I thought I was being a good brother. I thought family was supposed to help family. I had only one rule, just one simple rule about keeping things clean, and they shattered it in ways I never imagined possible. What happened next turned my entire family against me. Before we go back to where this all started, let me know in the comments where you are watching from today if you have ever opened your heart to someone and felt it get crushed. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to hear how this story ends. Now, let me take you back 3 weeks to the night my brother called me crying. My name is Abraham. I am 32 years old, and I work as a software engineer in Portland, Oregon. I live alone in a 3-bedroom house that I bought 4 years ago after saving every penny I could. That house is my sanctuary. It is the one place in this world where I feel completely safe and at peace. And there is a reason for that. A reason that goes back to my childhood. Growing up, our house was always a mess. Not just a little cluttered, but genuinely dirty. Dishes piled in the sink for days. Laundry scattered everywhere. Sticky floors that never got mopped. My mother was always too busy taking care of my younger brother Derek to worry about cleaning. Derek was the baby of the family 4 years younger than me, and he got all the attention. I learned early on that I had to take care of myself because nobody else was going to do it. The worst part was going to school smelling like our house. Kids noticed. They made comments. Some of them laughed. I still remember a boy named Marcus holding his nose when I walked past him in 7th grade. That moment burned itself into my memory like a brand. I swore to myself that when I grew up and had my own place, it would never look or smell like that house I grew up in. And I kept that promise. My home is spotless. Everything has its place. I clean my bathrooms twice a week. I vacuum every 3 days. Some people might call it obsessive. I call it peace of mind. So when Derek called me that Friday night 3 weeks ago, his voice shaking, telling me he had just lost his job and was about to lose his apartment, I hesitated. Not because I did not love my brother. I do love him. But I knew what letting his family into my space would mean. Derek explained everything through broken sentences. He had been working as a sales representative for a tech company, and they had done layoffs, no severance. His landlord had already given him a 7-day notice because he was 2 months behind on rent. His wife Tanya did not work. She stayed home with their 2 kids, 5-year-old Chloe and 2-year-old Mason. They had no savings, no backup plan, nowhere to go. I could hear Chloe crying in the background. That sound broke through every wall I had built around my heart. I told Derek yes, they could stay with me, but I made one thing absolutely clear. I explained my situation. I told him about my need for cleanliness, about how important it was for my mental health. I did not go into all the childhood details, but I made him understand that this was not just a preference. It was a necessity. Derek promised me. He gave me his word that his family would respect my home. He said he understood completely. He said Tanya would make sure the kids did not make a mess. He thanked me over and over again, his voice thick with gratitude. I spent the next 2 days preparing for their arrival. I cleared out the spare bedroom, completely bought an air mattress for Derek, and Tanya set up a small crib for Mason, arranged a little sleeping area for Chloe. I bought new towels, extra toilet paper, kid-friendly snacks. I even cooked a welcome dinner. Roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans. I wanted them to feel at home. When they pulled up in their packed minivan on Sunday afternoon, Chloe was the first one out. She ran straight to me and wrapped her little arms around my legs. "Uncle Abraham," she said, her face beaming up at me. I felt my heart soften. Maybe this would work out after all. Derek looked exhausted but grateful. He shook my hand, then pulled me into a hug. Tanya followed behind, carrying Mason on her hip. She gave me a thin smile and a nod. "Thanks for this," she said. Her tone was flat, almost dismissive, but I told myself she was just tired from the move. Everyone was stressed. That first night went smoothly. We ate dinner together, watched a movie with the kids, and everyone went to bed early. I fell asleep feeling good about my decision. Then, I woke up the next morning. I walked into my kitchen at 6:30 in the morning, like I always do, to make my coffee. But the kitchen was not how I left it. The sink was full of dishes from the night before, plates with dried food stuck to them, cups with milk residue. A pot with leftover mashed potatoes sat on the stove uncovered, starting to crust over. On the counter, there was an open bag of chips crumbs scattered across the surface. On the floor, I found a juice box that had been stepped on, purple liquid seeping into the grout between my tiles. I stood there for a long moment, just staring. Then I took a deep breath and cleaned it all up myself. It was only the first day, I told myself. They were still adjusting. They would get better. They did not get better. By the end of the first week, the chaos had spread through my entire house like a virus. Chloe's toys appeared everywhere. In the living room, scattered across the floor like landmines. In the hallway, where I nearly tripped over a plastic dinosaur at 2 in the morning. Once I even found a doll in my bedroom sitting on my pillow staring at me with its glassy eyes. I had no idea how it got there. My door had been closed. The kitchen remained a disaster zone despite my daily cleaning. No matter how many times I washed the dishes, more appeared. Food was left out constantly. Bread left open on the counter until it went stale. Milk left on the table until it turned warm. I found half-eaten apples in strange places, behind the couch cushions, on the bathroom counter, once inexplicably inside my shoe closet. I tried to address it gently. One evening, while Derek was out at a job interview, I found Tanya sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone, while Mason played on the floor surrounded by crushed crackers. I asked her politely if she could try to keep the common areas a little tidier. I used my most diplomatic voice. I smiled. I even offered to help establish a cleaning routine that would work for everyone. Tanya looked up at me with an expression I can only describe as annoyed amusement. She shrugged her shoulders and said, "They are kids, Abraham. Kids make messes. That is what they do. You do not have children, so you do not understand." Then she went right back to her phone. I felt something twist in my chest. Not anger exactly, but something close to it. Disappointment, maybe. Disbelief. This was my home. These were my rules, and she was dismissing them like they meant nothing. But I swallowed my frustration and walked away. I told myself to be patient. Derek would find a job soon, and they would move out. I just had to get through a few more weeks. Then came the first bathroom incident. It was a Tuesday night, about 8 days after they moved in. I had just finished a long day of work and wanted to take a shower before bed. My bathroom, the master bathroom attached to my bedroom, was supposed to be off limits to everyone else. I had made that clear. There was a perfectly good guest bathroom in the hallway that they were supposed to use. But when I walked into my bathroom that night, I stopped dead in my tracks. There on the floor next to my toilet was a used diaper, Mason's diaper. It had not been wrapped up or put in a bag. It was just sitting there, open contents visible, the smell filling the small space like a physical presence. I backed out of the bathroom and closed the door. I had to stand in my bedroom for a full minute, breathing through my mouth, trying to calm the waves of nausea rolling through me. When I confronted Derek about it later that night, he looked genuinely embarrassed. He apologized profusely and said he would talk to Tanya. He promised it would not happen again. The next day, I found Tanya in the kitchen and brought up the incident as calmly as I could. Her response made my blood pressure spike. She rolled her eyes at me, literally rolled her eyes. Then she said, "Oh my God, Abraham, it is just a diaper. Babies wear diapers. It happens. You are being so dramatic about this." I tried to explain that the issue was not the diaper itself, but the fact that it was left unwrapped on my bathroom floor. In my private bathroom, the one she was not supposed to be using in the first place. Tanya waved her hand dismissively. The other bathroom was occupied. What was I supposed to do? Let him sit in it? You are being ridiculous. Maybe if you had kids of your own, you would understand how hard it is. That phrase again. You do not have kids. She wielded it like a weapon, as if my lack of children somehow disqualified me from having basic standards of hygiene in my own home. I walked away from that conversation feeling something I had not felt since childhood. Small, dismissed, invisible in my own space. The second week was even worse. My personal belongings started disappearing and reappearing in strange conditions. My good bath towels, the expensive ones I had bought specifically for myself, showed up, wadded in a wet ball on the hallway floor. My shampoo and body wash ran out 3 times faster than usual. I found my electric razor sitting on the edge of the bathtub in the guest bathroom, clearly used with hair stuck in the blades that was not mine. I started noticing other things too. Stains on my couch that had not been there before. A scratch on my coffee table shaped like it had been made by a toy car. Crayon marks on the hallway wall. Purple and green scribbles at about Chloe's height. When I pointed out the crayon marks to Tanya, she barely glanced at them. "Kids will be kids," she said. "It will probably wash off." She made no move to actually try washing it off. That task, like everything else, fell to me. By the end of the second week, I was barely sleeping. I would lie awake at night, listening to the sounds of my house being taken over, the footsteps in the hallway at all hours, the baby crying, the television blaring cartoons at 7 in the morning, the constant, unending mess that regenerated no matter how much I cleaned. I pulled Derek aside again. We went to a coffee shop down the street so we could talk privately. I sat across from my younger brother and laid out everything that had been happening. Every incident, every mess, every dismissive comment from his wife. I told him this was not working. I told him something had to change. Derek looked down at his coffee cup the whole time I talked. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I know Tanya can be difficult. She has always been kind of messy. But we have nowhere else to go, Abraham. Can you please just give us a little more time? I am so close to getting a job." "I have had 3 interviews this week," I asked him directly. "Can you get Tanya to respect my home? Can you get her to follow the one rule I asked you to follow?" Derek nodded slowly. "I will talk to her again," he said. "I promise. Things will get better." Things did not get better. At the start of the third week, I had to go on a business trip. 2 days in San Francisco for a conference. I did not want to leave my house alone with them, but I had no choice. It was mandatory for work. Before I left, I did something I had never done before. I put a lock on my bedroom door, a real lock with a key. I told Derek and Tanya that my bedroom and bathroom were strictly off limits while I was gone. I said it clearly. I said it twice. I made sure they both acknowledged that they understood. I drove to the airport with a knot in my stomach that would not go away. The conference was fine, the meetings went well, but I could not focus. Something felt wrong. I kept checking my phone, expecting a message, expecting something bad. On Saturday, my last day there, I managed to finish early. I caught an earlier flight home, hoping to surprise everyone and maybe take the kids out for ice cream. I pulled into my driveway at around 5 in the afternoon. The moment I opened my front door, I knew something was very wrong. The smell hit me first. A thick, sour odor that seemed to fill the entire house. I walked into the kitchen and found what looked like the aftermath of a hurricane. Dishes piled so high, they had toppled over into the sink and onto the counter. Food containers left open. A carton of milk sitting on the table, clearly spoiled based on the smell. Sticky spots on the floor that made my shoes make a peeling sound with every step. But that was not the worst of it. I walked toward my bedroom, my heart pounding. The door was open. The lock I had installed was broken. Splintered wood around the frame showed where someone had forced it open. I stepped inside my bedroom, my sanctuary, the one place in this world that was supposed to be mine alone. Everything looked relatively okay in the bedroom itself. But then, I opened the bathroom door. I cannot adequately describe what I found in there, but I will try, because you need to understand why I did what I did next. On the floor next to my toilet, there were used sanitary products. Tanya's sanitary products. Multiple ones, not wrapped up, not placed in a trash can. Just left there on my bathroom floor like it was nothing. Like my private space was a public dump. In the corner, there were more used diapers. 3 of them. Again, not wrapped, not bagged, just tossed in a pile. There was urine on the floor. A visible puddle that had partially dried, leaving a dark stain on my bathroom tiles. The toilet itself had not been flushed. I will spare you the details of what was in it. The smell was indescribable. It was the smell of my childhood home amplified 1,000 times. It was everything I had spent my adult life trying to escape, concentrated in the one room I had specifically asked them to stay out of. I made it 3 steps out of my bathroom before I had to run outside. I vomited in my front yard, right there on the lawn, my whole body shaking. When I finally composed myself enough to go back inside, I found Derek, Tanya, and the kids in the living room watching television like nothing was wrong. I asked them all to sit down. My voice was shaking, but I kept it level. I asked Tanya why she had broken into my bedroom. She looked at me with that same dismissive expression I had grown to recognize. The guest bathroom was clogged, she said. We needed to use a bathroom. What were we supposed to do? I asked her about what she left in there. I asked her to explain how any of that was acceptable. Her response will stay with me for the rest of my life. She shrugged and said, "Oh, come on, Abraham. You are acting like this is some huge deal. I am a woman. I have periods. It is natural. You are being so dramatic." I pointed out as calmly as I could that the issue was not that she menstruated. The issue was that she left used sanitary products unwrapped on my bathroom floor. In a bathroom she was not supposed to be in, after breaking my lock to get in, and that she had left them there for what appeared to be multiple days. Tanya crossed her arms. "I have 2 kids to take care of," she said. "I do not have time to worry about wrapping things up perfectly. Maybe if you helped out more instead of being so obsessed with everything being perfect, it would not be such a problem." I looked at Derek, my brother, the person I had welcomed into my home when he had nowhere else to go. He was staring at the floor. He said nothing. I waited. I gave him the chance to say something, to defend me, to acknowledge that what his wife had done was wrong, to show some sign that he understood I had been violated in my own home. He remained silent. That silence broke something in me. Something that had been holding on by a thread for the past 3 weeks finally snapped. I told them they had 3 days to find somewhere else to live. Tanya exploded. She called me selfish. She called me heartless. She said I was abandoning family when they needed me most. She asked what kind of person throws children out on the street. Derek finally spoke up, but not to apologize. He asked me to reconsider. He said he was close to getting a job offer. He said they just needed a little more time. I shook my head. I reminded him of our agreement. I reminded him of the one rule I had asked him to follow. I pointed out that I had given them warnings, multiple warnings. I had tried to address things diplomatically. And in return, my privacy had been invaded. My property had been damaged, and my home had been turned into something that triggered every painful memory from my childhood. I told them my decision was final. That night, I slept in my car in the driveway. I could not stay inside that house. The smell had permeated everything. The next morning, my phone started ringing. It was my mother. "Abraham?" She said, her voice sharp and accusatory. "Derek just called me. What is this about you throwing them out? They have children." "How could you do this to your own brother?" I tried to explain. I told her about the messes, about the broken lock, about what I found in my bathroom. I told her about the 3 weeks of disrespect, of boundary violations, of being made to feel like a stranger in my own home. My mother's response was exactly what I should have expected, but it still hurt. She said Derek is going through a hard time. He needs family support right now. You have a good job, Abraham. You have your own house. You can handle a little mess. But Derek and those babies need somewhere to live. Family has to stick together. I asked her a question that had been building inside me for 32 years. I said, when I was growing up, who took care of me when I was going to school in dirty clothes and getting made fun of? Where were you when I needed support? Who gave it to me? There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then my mother said, "You always did fine on your own. You did not need help like Derek does." That was the moment I understood something fundamental about my place in this family. I was the one who was supposed to give, never the one who received. I was the strong one, which meant my struggles did not count. My needs did not matter. I told my mother that my decision stood. She hung up on me. Over the next 2 days, my phone became a weapon turned against me. My father called not to hear my side, but to tell me I had upset my mother and I should apologize. My Aunt Patricia sent a long text message calling me ungrateful and accusing me of destroying the family. Cousins I barely spoke to reached out to share their opinions about what a terrible person I was. The narrative had been set without my input. I was the villain, the heartless brother who threw a young family onto the street over a little mess. Not one of them asked to hear my side of the story. Not one of them considered that maybe, just maybe, I might have had a reason for what I did. On the third day, Derek loaded up the minivan. They were going to stay with my parents, apparently. Before they drove away, Derek came up to me. I expected an apology, some acknowledgement of what had happened. Instead, he looked at me and said, "You have changed, Abraham. You used to be cool. Now you are just cold." I looked at my younger brother, the one I had spent my whole life looking out for, the one I had welcomed into my home when he had nothing, and I said, "No, Derek. I have not changed. I have just learned to protect myself. I am sorry you see that as cold." Tanya did not even look at me as they drove away. Chloe waved from the back window, her little hand pressed against the glass. That image still haunts me sometimes. She was innocent in all of this. I stood in my driveway and watched until the minivan disappeared around the corner. Then I went inside and called a professional cleaning service. The cleaners came the next day. It took them 6 hours to fully sanitize my house. 6 hours and several $100s. They had to use industrial strength products on the bathrooms. The team leader, a woman who had probably seen everything in her line of work, actually winced when she saw my master bathroom. In the weeks that followed, my family remained silent. I was removed from the family group chat. No one called to check on me. It was like I had ceased to exist. The loneliness was harder than I expected. I had thought I would feel relief once they were gone, and I did in some ways. My house was clean again. My space was my own. But there was an emptiness too, a grief for the family relationships I had hoped might finally improve, now clearly damaged beyond repair. My friend Kevin was the one who kept me sane during that time. We had worked together for 5 years, and he knew me better than most people. He came over with pizza and beer a few nights after Derek left, and he just let me talk. I told him everything. The childhood stuff, the present situation, the guilt I felt mixed with the anger, the way my family had made me feel like I was the problem. Kevin listened without interrupting. When I finished, he set down his beer and looked at me seriously. He said, "Abraham, you did nothing wrong. You opened your home to people who did not respect it. You set boundaries that were completely reasonable, and when those boundaries were violated repeatedly, you enforced consequences. That is not being a villain. That is being a healthy adult." He said something else that stayed with me. He said, "Your family taught you that your needs do not matter, that you are supposed to give and never ask for anything in return. But that is not how healthy relationships work. Respect has to go both ways, even with family, especially with family." I started going to a support group a month later. It was for people dealing with family boundary issues. I felt strange walking in the first time, like I did not belong. My problem seemed so small compared to what some people were dealing with. But I learned that pain is not a competition. What happened to me mattered because it mattered to me. I learned about generational patterns and family roles, and how sometimes the person labeled as selfish is actually just the first one brave enough to say no. I started taking better care of myself. I joined a gym. I reconnected with old friends I had neglected. I started cooking elaborate meals again just for myself because I enjoyed it. My house returned to being my sanctuary, my place of peace and order. 3 months after Derek left, I received a text message from him. I stared at my phone for a long time before opening it. The message was short. It said, "Abraham, I hope you are doing well. Things have been tough. I was wondering if you could lend me $500 to help cover some bills. I will pay you back when I get on my feet." No apology, no acknowledgement of what had happened, no recognition that he had done anything wrong, just a request for money as if the previous 3 months had not happened. I did not respond. Some people might think that makes me cold. Maybe they are right, but I have learned that I cannot set myself on fire to keep other people warm. I cannot sacrifice my peace and my boundaries for people who do not value them, even family, especially family. Here is what I know now that I did not fully understand before. Being a good person does not mean letting people walk all over you. Loving someone does not mean tolerating their disrespect. And protecting yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. I still love my brother. Part of me probably always will. But I love him from a distance now. A safe distance. The door to my home and my heart is not permanently closed, but it will stay shut until I receive something I have never gotten from my family. Genuine respect, a real apology, acknowledgement that I am a person with needs that matter just as much as everyone else's. I am not holding my breath, but I am also not bitter. I have let go of the anger. I have let go of the need for them to understand. I have found my own peace. And that, in the end, is more valuable than any family approval could ever be. So, let me ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between being kind to someone else and being kind to yourself? Have you ever been made to feel like the villain for simply having boundaries? Drop a comment below and share your story. I would love to hear from you. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like. It helps more than you know. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next story. And if you know someone who might need to hear this message, share this video with them. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope that wherever you are, you have the courage to protect your peace, the strength to enforce your boundaries, and the wisdom to know that you deserve respect. Take care of yourselves. I will see you in the next one.